Welcome to What Car Should You Buy, a weekly show where we debate the merits of various cars, and then you tell us that we should post more Miata videos. In today's episode, we're going to discuss my personal favorite topic, luxury SUVs. I love luxury SUVs because they combine everything that makes cars great, luxury and SUVs. Some offer excellent performance, some tout go-anywhere capabilities, but all will make people think you're an asshole when you're sitting in front of them at the traffic lights. So which luxury SUV is the best? Which is the worst? What are some of our favorites? Let's talk cars. Joining me today to discuss luxury SUVs are two guests. First, there's Andrew Collins, purveyor of Jalopnik's Truck Yeah blog and owner of the least luxurious SUV of all time, a rusting, inoperant hulk of an international scout. Also here is Jalopnik's Mike Ballaban, who has spent many hours nearly getting hit by luxury SUVs as he walks through New York City. Gentlemen, your thoughts on luxury SUVs?
Don't buy them.
Don't buy them.
Just don't. You don't need one. You shouldn't want one. Don't buy one.
But luxury SUVs are pretty good, don't you think?
No, they're not. They're good. They're good for two people in this world.
All right.
If you are living in the Arab world and you've made a lot of money on oil and real estate, or you're living in the former Soviet Union and you've made a lot of money on
Oil and real estate.
Oil and weapons.
Okay, so you think that they're sort of only for the oligarch chic type people?
Not because of their job occupations, but because of their work environment.
Don't you think, though, that there's an argument for luxury SUVs in an urban environment where all the roads are bad and you got to go over curbs and run over little cars?
See, Ballaban's never driven in New York City. He doesn't realize that it is a war-torn hellhole.
Yeah.
And you need big tires and big clearance to navigate through without wanting to
it helps dramatically. Let me tell you something. Driving around Philadelphia, or New York, frankly, New York's worse. Driving around New York, you get up behind people in little cars, and they take every bump at 1.5 miles an hour. And I'm in my SUV, and I'm just like, boom! And I go past all that stuff. I go full speed ahead. That is my goal.
But that's their problem. Is
their problem.
They don't need to crawl. They can go very fast.
Well,
have you seen? I don't know if you've heard of it. It's known as Rally, and do they do that in Range Rovers? No, they do that in small little hatchbacks.
Small little hatch with dramatically raised ground clearance and beefed up suspension and tires with like ice picks on them.
That's right. It's about the tires. Fat sidewalls. That's all you need.
All right. Let's talk about specific. Let's talk about specific luxury SUVs.
Sure.
And I think we should start where everybody should start. The finest luxury SUV of all time, the finest car ever made, the Range Rover. Your thoughts, Andrew, please.
The Range Rover is the beginning and end of the luxury SUV equation.
We're good here. Good night.
But there's the Range Rover Sport, and I know you and I have had disagreements on this.
What do you like? You like the Sport?
The Sport is awesome. It's smaller. It's grounded to the ground.
Don't you feel
Sport is so much sportier?
You're driving around the Sport. Don't you kind of feel like driving a Boxster, and you see a guy in a 911?
I've never driven a Boxster.
Okay. Well, it's not. It doesn't. Believe it or not, driving a Sport and driving a Boxster, different experiences.
All right.
You're driving around on Range Rover Sport. You feel like the guy who's in a Boxster and sees a 911 and he's like, crap. I could have had that.
No, I'm like, man, I could smoke you through the corners.
You think that when you're driving a Range Rover Sport?
Oh, all the time.
But if you want to smoke someone through the corners, get a car.
All right.
Get a car.
All right, let's pretend, Ballaban, you had to purchase a luxury SUV.
Yes.
What do you like? Have you driven these vehicles?
Yeah, I've driven these vehicles.
What do you like?
I like a Volvo S60 Polestar.
All right, so
That's
you
what
like
I like.
cars. Cars are your thing.
Okay. If I was going
to a gun to your head, what kind of SUV?
One luxury SUV, it's the Range Rover.
Okay.
It always is the Range Rover, preferably an Overfinch edition.
Yeah.
But
load it up.
It is exactly. But it's the Range Rover, and then there's other things that I guess are things.
The Range Rover is like 90, 100 grand to start. What if you don't have 90 grand?
Used Range Rover.
Then buy a used Range Rover, yeah.
What if you're worried about the fact that you buy a used Range Rover,
yes,
you will end up getting halfway to work, and then that will be the end of your journey that day.
Yeah.
And the rest of your day will be spent in a Jaguar XF service loaner.
But then you can't afford a used Range Rover at all.
Well, then maybe you should
Land
get
Cruiser.
maybe like a Lexus RX is a good vehicle.
Oh, no, it's not an SUV.
Let me tell you something.
It's a hatchback with a lot of ground clearance.
Okay. Now, are you on board with that?
Yeah, they should bring that into World Rally.
My dad has a Lexus RX. It's the greatest car in the world because he doesn't care at all about cars, right? He sent me a picture. My dad sent me a picture yesterday of an Audi R8, and this is an email he sent me.
A known car.
He sent me, and the email subject line is, "What is the Audi RB?" And there was a photograph of a blurry photograph of an R8 taken while he was driving home from work.
This was an email, not an actual letter
One step away. He didn't text it.
Yeah.
He's got his picture on his phone. He sends an email. But anyway, my point is,
like
he didn't care about cars. The RX is great. It's reasonably priced. It's reliable. You can throw stuff in it. It's got a little more ground clearance.
Well, that's what I mean, is that people don't know anyways. You know, I was speaking to somebody recently, and they asked me, I really want to get a Lincoln MKC.
Which is a great car.
Should I get a Lincoln MKC? And I said, no. No, you should not.
Why? What is the difference between that and an MKZ? It's like 4 inches of height.
Well, that's the thing, is that you shouldn't get an MKZ either. But regardless.
Lincoln
And I said, well, you know, Infiniti makes a small SUV, BMW makes a small SUV, Lexus makes the NX. And he said, yeah, but Lincoln's giving me a good deal. And I said, does that make you happy? And he goes, yeah. Okay. So, all right, man, do what makes you happy, I guess.
So what do you have against the MKC? I mean, I've driven the MKC. I think it's the star of that segment.
Well, it's
the MKC, the
MKC is the small, so it's the Escape.
Yeah,
I like that car too.
It's the Escape.
And it's got the push-button shifter, which
MKC,
is like an awesome
and it's
novelty.
it's very competitive with its rivals, which are with stuff like the X3 and the RDX and the NX, which is
competitive with an X3.
well in that size class.
What does
You think X3 drives better?
Well,
Because it's still, these are SUVs, right? Like nobody really cares about that.
that's true. The MKC is surprisingly comfortable, I will say. Lincoln is on point with their seat game right now.
Super loaded with stuff too. They have
That too.
My Ford Touch has gotten so much better. It'll automatically parallel park. That's important.
No one uses that.
If you're the
crap.
kind of person
Oh
who's
my
buying
God.
a luxury Lincoln SUV, you're the kind of person who wants an automatic parallel parking system.
But you're the also kind of the person who will never actually parallel park because
that's
it's
true.
in your
Yeah,
driveway.
that stuff
true.
never
You're
works.
That's exactly right.
You want it, but you'll never use
Oh,
it.
it's got it just in case.
Even on the MKC press drive, the parallel parking didn't work. They had to try it like 4 or 5 times to demonstrate.
I did it
It's
once
just-
in an MKZ, and I remember it doesn't brake for you. It does the steering. You have to do the braking. I remember finding that out the bitter end. That segment, the little small one. So there's like Encore and X1,
NX,
and that's
Lexus.
it. So NX is a little bigger, right? Because like
That's a little smaller, I guess.
What
Encore.
is-
Who buys an Encore?
Well, people. It's like 26 grand. What is the problem?
Old men like Mike Ballaban.
what I mean.
Perfect.
Do you understand at least the kind of person who would buy a luxury SUV?
No.
Unless
they're
you're
in my
hanging
two
out with 2 of
categories.
them.
You
Unless my
realize
two
that
categories.
they sell 10 million of these things every 30 seconds.
Thank God.
So-
Thank God.
So
Bless them.
So I don't understand. What do you think? What do you think? Like suburban people who want a little bit more ground clearance, what do you think they should be driving around in?
Super.
They should all get an Outback.
Yeah.
What
Great
if they
car.
don't like the Outback?
What
Then
if
they
they
have
want
bad
extra
taste.
seats?
Does it bother you at all that the Outback is kind of a luxury SUV in itself?
No.
You can get in an Outback. You can get all sorts of luxury cars.
Yeah, it's great.
Leather,
Yeah, it's
nav.
great.
It's got more ground. What did you say? More
More ground clearance than a Jeep Grand
Yeah,
Cherokee.
it's
Think
great.
about that.
It's great.
Negligible,
I love
but
it.
it's
Think
more.
about that.
I love
Outback
it.
has more ground clearance than a Jeep Grand. It's an SUV.
I love it. Yeah, it's
so why
great.
do you like that? It's a marketing thing.
It's a great car.
You've been fooled by SUV marketing. You've been fooled by Subaru's marketing.
Subaru's marketing, not SUV marketing.
No.
But wouldn't we all like to be fooled? If any marketing operation is going to fool us,
That's
might as
that's
be
what I mean
Subaru.
about a magic trick. Do you get angry at a magic trick, or you go, "No, I've been entertained"?
You know what I do? With
That's
magic
what.
tricks?
That's
What
a
an
Subaru.
analogy.
You know what I do with magic trick? I Google how they do the trick. And
Yeah.
so in this case,
Do you really? You
yeah,
would.
every time. And so in this case, I would Google the ground clearance in the Outback, and I would say, wait a second.
Yeah.
This is a Highlander
Yeah.
that's pitched as a station wagon.
Lower roof line, higher ground clearance, man. It's
Yeah.
the way of the future.
But now that you know that how the trick is made, are you angry at it?
Yeah, because I might as well just get an RX. Why don't I just get like a Q5? You know what I mean?
Because you get a
What's a
Subaru.
Q5 again? Oh, yeah.
Exactly. What is a Q5 again? Actually, speaking of cars that SUVs that Lincoln makes, did you know Lincoln still makes the Navigator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lincoln does make the Navigator.
No, do not discount the Navigator. That
Give me a break. It's
I
the
swear.
worst interior of any modern automobile.
What?
No, it's a joke.
The seats in there are so nice.
Nothing
Look at the
upsets
chaos
me more
I have created.
than the Lincoln Navigator because Cadillac revitalized their entire operation on the
Okay.
back of their SUV.
Yep.
And Lincoln is trying to revitalize their operation on the back of a small, mid-sized luxury sedan and a small SUV. It's
Okay.
not going to happen. If you want to stand out and you want to get young people and you make that Navigator the best car in the world, and they are so far behind.
It is 1998.
No, I disagree.
special.
It absolutely is.
No way. It's got better torque curve than the Escalade. It's like 10 grand cheaper, and
It
the seats
looks
are
like
nicer.
the Navigator that came out
Yeah, it
in the
looks
fall
horrible.
of 1997, and the interior with those 2 lines that come across and go down. The Escalade's interior looks like the future.
Yeah.
The Navigator's interior looks like the past.
All right. Oh,
It does. I wouldn't even. I think
feel very strongly about this, apparently.
No,
Cadillac
because
needs to
the
send you a
thing
check,
is,
too.
you say the past, and the past can have good connotations. And
Oh my God.
It looks like the misremembered past is more than anything else.
That's kind of true.
The styling is weak, I'll give you that.
Lincoln,
But
I think
paper-
Lincoln is one of the great companies. I think they have great potential, and I think the Navigator is one of the worst products on sale today. Seriously. Okay, let me just start at the bottom. We can discuss this because we're not going to get any legitimate input from Ballaban.
That's what I say every morning.
The low end of the segment. So the small stuff. Encore X1. What else is there?
NX is like real
GLA,
small.
right?
Oh yeah,
What do you think of those? I think the GLA is an excellent car.
it's an excellent car. It's not an SUV.
It's cheap. It's loaded. I agree with you.
Yeah,
It's
well
a
then,
car.
I mean, that just comes back to, is an SUV a hatchback, or like
The
what makes an
lines-
SUV?
Nothing has blurred the lines more than that GLA.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it really looks like a car, but they pitch it. Obviously, they can't pitch it as a wagon.
Right, because no one will buy it.
No one will buy it.
Yeah.
So they pitch it as an SUV, and people buy it everywhere.
I haven't driven it, but I would imagine it's pretty good. I mean, the proportions are good. Mercedes are nice to drive.
They get great mileage.
What do they cost?
Well
Forget.
over. They start at 33.
Really?
Around there. It's insane, and it comes with like power tailgate. It's surprisingly loaded up. And MB
Okay.
Tex, which is
Is that two
as
liter
good as
turbo?
leather. 2-liter turbo.
Yep.
And they do 4MATIC, and then they have the AMG version, which still gets like 30 miles per gallon. It's
Yeah.
insane. I mean, they're just fantastic. I think
Okay.
that's the best of those little ones.
Is that a panoramic sunroof? Do you know?
Yeah, they.
Seeing as you've
they are.
obviously read the brochure, so.
Oh, I just think the GLA is so great. The X1 is fine. The Encore is fine. I don't know.
So what's
But
Audi's
is-
Q5 in that size or
Q3?
Q3? Yeah. Have you driven that?
I
Driven
haven't.
that?
Have you?
No?
I'd be very curious. I don't know.
Driven the Touareg. It's the closest thing I can
well,
imagine.
So the Touareg's bigger, right?
Yeah.
The
a
Tiguan
little bit.
is like.
Tiguan's a little one, yeah.
But if I may ask, we keep saying, oh, well, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
Is fine good enough?
A lot of
What
these-
is the great
I would
car?
rather have any of
just
the
said GLA.
luxury SUVs we're discussing today than any of their car counterparts. I would rather have a GLA than a CLA. Let me tell you why. All-wheel drive, more ground clearance, better seating position, same price,
More
and
cargo space.
I get more cargo space.
But is that only the entry level, or does that carry through all the way up?
You mean including CLA? Like CLA G? I mean, there's only two models.
Would you get a Mercedes GL or whatever
Yeah.
they're calling it now?
Over whatever.
Over
yeah.
an
Over the
S-Class?
S-Class.
Would I get a G-Wagon over an S-Class?
No, GL, big difference.
Absolutely.
No.
Why would GL's for people who are trying to carry around families? I mean, that's 3-row.
That's huge. It's
Yeah,
suburban size.
It's
It is-
suburban.
it
It's
is-
the Tahoe for rich people.
It is
Yeah.
definitely for people who are suburban sized. That's right.
No, I mean, yeah.
Your problem
Rascal.
with these vehicles is based solely on the fact that they're a few inches higher than normal cars. Otherwise, they're the same.
Right. The
No, the S-Class is brilliant. It is a
Why
modern
would you buy an S-Class?
flagship.
Let me do a little comparison for you. Range Rover versus S-Class, all right? Range Rover's got more ground clearance. It's cheaper. Same fuel economy. Same awful driving experience. They're both floaty, and I mean, no one's buying an S-Class to corner.
Yes.
Range Rover has better seating position. You sit up instead of like, and it's got 10 times the cargo space. Why are you buying an S-Class?
Do you need to sit up? Do you need all those
I
inches?
need the ground clearance. I don't need to sit up. I don't care about
If
that.
anybody needs a
Okay.
booster seat.
No, but that's why. Driving, the essence of driving is being low down. It's being truly on the road. It's not
But I-
floating
no
above
essence of
everything.
driving
Let me
an
tell you,
S-Class.
if I lived in Germany where the roads are like glass, that'd be fine. I live in Philadelphia where there are bricks in the street.
But if I want to float above the landscape, I'll go into transcendental meditation. I don't
Oh,
need.
you can't move. You can't. First off, with transcendental meditation, you can't take passengers anywhere. You can't carry stuff. You can't bring your dog to the vet.
You
understand?
can't. You can't.
All right, mid-size luxury SUVs. Andrew Collins. What do you
Moving
like?
on up.
RDX.
All the problem with this segment of size vehicles is this is why they're so hard to write about. Is they're just transportation devices that are like various degrees of styling,
Right.
and it's like they're all
And you
pretty
kinda
comfortable.
Pick your poison.
You're never gonna full throttle it, even like getting on the highway. So you're
It
never gonna.
ultimately comes down to what is the best deal, what is the
Yeah,
best stuff, what
like-
do you think looks the best?
Exactly.
Is a
What's
big
and
component.
residual value? Like what are you
Residual.
gonna what are you gonna be able to sell for the most, or get a better lease deal on, or whatever?
Which is funny.
So let's move it up. Let's talk about the bigger stuff because the small stuff's boring. The
Okay, so bigger stuff. So let's
Like
talk about
Suburban,
the very highest
Escalade,
end. So Escalade,
Range
GL,
Rover we've already discussed.
Yeah, so Escalade GL,
GL.
QX80. What do you like in that?
QX80.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's one of the toughest vehicles to look at I've ever seen, but everyone who's driven one loves it.
I
I've
don't
never
mind
driven it.
how I don't mind how it looks as much.
Really? People tell me they're incredible. It's based on the Nissan Patrol, little known fact. I don't know how little known
The
that
Armada
but
is still the old body.
yeah.
What do you think about those though? Those full size. I mean, would you rather have a GL? Would you rather an Escalade? Escalades are cool.
Yeah, it's rather an Escalade.
I would
Escalade's
not-
so nice inside.
Escalade is an
New
excellent
ones.
car,
Oh,
best in the
God,
segment.
is it nice.
I would not be able to personally drive it. I don't. I think it.
Right.
I can't you can't drive around on an Escalade.
No, you
People be
can't.
like, that guy's got an Escalade.
Yeah, exactly. No, they're very hard to be seen in, but for
A Tahoe is completely different, right? Tahoe's
Yukon
good.
XL is what you
Yukon
get
XL.
then, man. Yukon is the perfect. It's like the Wagoneer of now of
It's
today.
funny because we were just on Nantucket, which is where all these SUVs are.
of course.
And we were on the ferry line to get in. I've never seen so many GMC Yukons with pool flotation
Yukon.
devices. And
That's the car everybody
dogs
gets.
in
Yep.
one place. And you realize this is who buys these things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they don't really care about how much it costs. They just want the biggest. They can tow. They can throw their kids in it.
But they don't want the Escalade because it's a Cadillac.
They don't want
and
the
this-
Escalade.
Yeah.
They don't want the image.
Yeah. They don't want the,
What about the Cayenne?
But
Because you could still get a Cayenne.
we haven't discussed the performance side of
Yeah,
SUVs
okay, so
yet.
let's talk
Oh,
performance
and we haven't
SUVs.
talked about my favorite SUV of all time yet. New
The-
one, 2015.
His favorite SUV of all time.
Guess what it is?
The
You're never going to guess. Because we haven't even...
La Forza.
No,
The 2015 La Forza.
no. Favorite new
Doesn't
one.
exist.
I have a favorite new one.
Jeep Renegade.
No.
Now, what do you like?
Fiat
Cayenne
500X.
X5M.
2015 Durango RT.
We're going to discuss luxury SUVs today,
All right,
so we're going to skip the
so,
Durango. We're not going to discuss Dodges today.
No. And, here's why. Let me make a case. It's got all the like noise and kind of swagger of like an SRT or like the bigger like this MX-5 whatever, but it's like 40 grand.
Dodge is the
Perfect.
opposite of a luxury brand. Dodge is pitched as the exact opposite of a luxury brand. If you have ever at any point thought about owning a lawn care service, that's who you're buying a Dodge.
But that's the thing. What luxury SUV do you see yourself driving? Do you aspire to be?
I aspire to have a Land Cruiser, but I'm in a Range Rover. All Range Rover owners aspire to have a Land Cruiser.
Okay.
False. Vice
It is,
versa.
it's the actual.
It's the other way around.
Wait, we do need to talk about performance luxury SUVs. It's a big part of the segment now.
Yeah.
Macan and Cayenne are really popular.
Oh, Macan is so good.
I
God,
haven't-
what a car.
Interesting.
Oh,
Which one did you have?
turbo, man.
The turbo's
it's
pretty
fierce.
cool.
It's
Dual
very,
clutch.
it's ridiculously fast. It's unreasonably
SQ5.
fast.
I like SQ5 a lot too. So that's Macan S.
Why do you prefer the SQ5?
Oh, I don't necessarily prefer
Oh.
it. I do. The Macan is very small looking.
It's very small. It's a small vehicle.
The Q5 has a bit more of an SUV flavor to
All
it.
right. The Macan, I could not. It's not really an SUV. It's more like a hot hatch on steroids.
Ballaban, do you prefer these performance SUVs?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. If only because I've never driven a Macan or a Cayenne, but I have heard, I want to hate them so much
Right.
with every fiber of my being, and I've only heard nothing of good things. It's just, and the Macan looks great. It looks great. And I've heard they're great off-road too, and I want to hate them.
Wow. So you're interested. You're actually okay about the performance side.
yeah.
You just don't
I'm
like
more
the boring
okay.
ones.
Doesn't make sense.
You like
Well,
the ones
because
that go fast. and
Because
that
the
are cool.
performance side doesn't pretend to be anything else other than ridiculous, and I love a ridiculous vehicle.
Okay, X5M.
Yes.
GL63.
Absurd. Absurd. They're great.
We like them
They're
because they're absurd.
Because they're
Right,
crazy.
and they make no apologies about being absurd. Whereas they don't try to pretend to be something else. They don't say,
got a
"Oh,
point
you
there, actually.
you could go off road, but you really can't." You know,
And
they
they're
don't-
saying the MDX and the Outlaw, they do that. But these are like, F this. This is what you get. It's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
You might as well just be absurd and silly.
Okay,
This is
so what
life
we've learned
great.
is today that Andrew Collins has a sensible take on the luxury SUV world,
Yeah,
and that Ballaban only likes the small sliver of luxury SUVs that cannot actually be used as SUVs or really luxury cars.
or U
Yes.
or Vs.
Okay, well
Yeah.
that's a great. We've covered a lot of great ground here today, guys. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you for your recommendations. And up next, we'll get some recommendations from you. And now it's time to hear from Tavarish. Many of you who regularly read Jalopnik know Tavarish as the guy who convinced you to buy a used BMW 6 Series instead of putting your aging parents in a retirement village. Today, he's going to tell us his take on some of the best used luxury SUVs you can get for under 30 grand. Tavarish, what do you got?
Well, the first car we have is a 2009 Porsche Cayenne Turbo. And that's brought to us by commenters Arkazi and Something Clever Here. Now, this one is, first of all, it's my favorite color. It's white.
White,
Okay?
okay.
And the Turbo is a great looking car. I mean, I know a lot of people think the Cayenne is very not good looking.
The Cayenne improved, facelifted in 09.
They did.
That improved dramatically.
But the Turbo has that that wide mouth.
Turbo's front aerodynamic is
yeah,
bigger.
That wide mouth.
Of them, the Turbo and the GTS were the nicest ones.
Yes, yes. So that car, honestly, is a pretty good pick for a luxury SUV just because it has awesome amenities. It has a 500 horsepower turbocharged V8. It's just everything you need in a car that, when it was brand new, it was, what, like 150, 160?
I think it was less than that. It wasn't that expensive. It was like 100 at that time. It wasn't.
Well, we'll say with...
yeah, with Porsche's,
yeah.
Porsche's extreme options, it was probably more.
with inflation and options if you wanted to get the optional floor mats. Right?
The coolest thing about that car, it has a key in the shape of a Cayenne, including the headlights. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah. That's the coolest thing.
That is the only...
No, it's 500 horsepower. That was a cool car.
Yeah, that's...
All right, what
Not
else
a
you
bad
got for
car.
us?
Well, the next car is... I've actually never seen this car in my life, but I've always seen them on Craigslist, and it's always like, I know what I have, no tire kickers.
Uh-oh, okay.
It's a 1989 La Forza,
Oh, man.
and that's brought to us by commenter Fleetwood T. Brom.
What was the budget? Was 30 grand? And what is the La Forza going for?
La Forza is like nothing. They
Like
just
$5 or like $1,000?
Like $5. No. This one is. It's about. It's less than 10 grand.
Less than 10?
Yeah.
So what
Usually-
motor was in this?
What was that?
What motor was in this thing?
This was a 5-liter HO, the high output motor. So you
Ford.
get
This is a Ford V8.
Ford V8. Yeah.
Okay.
So you get the Fox body Mustang.
Fox body Mustang.
You get basically the Fox body drivetrain inside an Italian SUV. So you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, that is the best of both worlds. So that was
it's
a
like an
Pininfarina design, right?
Yeah, it's like an SUV equivalent of Di Tommaso Pantera, right? So
Except it was horribly ugly. It was like just a boxy 80s, like it wasn't an attractive car.
Honestly,
It was no Di Tommaso Pantera when it came to its appearance.
but then again, honestly, if you look at cars like that, they're always quirky and kind of kitschy. People really like that. Over the years, things grow on people. The 996 grows on people, right? This, I think, might take a little more, more time, but it'll grow. It'll grow. So
it was definitely an interesting car.
it's definitely the rarest car that you can buy for this kind of money.
That is probably true, and maybe with good reason.
Yeah.
All right, what else you got for us?
Well, the last car is a car that not only should everyone drive, but they should own. It's a 2003 Toyota Land Cruiser,
Land Cruiser.
and that's brought to us by Hammerhead Fist Punch and Loping Camshaft.
Okay.
These are
Those
good
are
names,
big
right?
Land Cruiser guys. I love
Yeah.
the Land Cruiser. It's a great car.
It is awesome. First of all, I'm not gonna say it out Range Rovers the Range Rover, but it's up there, right? It's never gonna die.
Right.
Even the older ones, like the FJ40s, and then the 80s, like,
yeah. Totally.
Yeah, these are just indestructible cars. So the one we have here, it's about it's just broken in at 100-something thousand miles. It's just over 100. So you could literally drive this car for the next 20 years.
Yeah, they will run forever. But when you get inside a Land Cruiser and you put the window down, it's the same window switch they have in a Corolla. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but all right. But the thing is, that will never break.
Right. That's why. That's the
will-
difference between a Range Rover. Range Rover's got the nicer interior, but because they're making it in Britain, it's going to wreck. The Corolla parts are going to run forever.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a great car. Land Cruiser.
It is the best luxury SUV. If reliability is your thing.
reliability is your big thing,
If you don't want it to be at the shop all the time, then this is the one you get.
I agree. All right. Well, thank you, Tavarish.
Thank you.
And thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll be talking about all the cars in the comments below and on Jalopnik. And don't forget to subscribe for some more great Jalopnik videos. But before you go, I leave you with this question. If you drive a BMW X6 and you put on your turn signal, how many cars will openly ignore you and your asshole SUV before somebody finally decides to let you in? Let us know in the comments.
Dougie!
Yeah, Mom.
Dougie, a prince just emailed me. He wants our credit card information.
Don't give it to him. He's not a real prince.
I told you that we were descended from royalty.
He's not a
Just close
prince.
it.
He's a guy with
I
an
need
email.
you to bring me all your credit cards,
Mom, I'm coming up. I'm not bringing any credit cards.
including the Target gift card.
Dude, just let her do it.
We didn't even talk about the SVX Acura. Oh, damn it.
Don't you think that everybody kind of needs a luxury SUV in their lives?
No. I mean, yes.
I get a phone call as that was going on. That intro.
Oh, shit. I should make sure.
Yeah, make sure it's off.
Not because of their jog.
That's the extent of what's on the prompter.
Ballaban is like that every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is what I
This
feel
is
like
not.
every fucking
Yeah.
It's a joy.
He's
it's a
extremely
pleasure.
argumentative. He's tough to handle.
Because someone needs to be the adult in the room.
He hangs out of an airplane in the next movie.
Well, he's not gonna die. It's like in a plane crash. The really small shit survives. Like they find like pens. Well, yeah. Sorry.